On December 6, 1991, the hearts of Austin, Texas were shattered when the lives of four remarkable young women were brutally cut short. The innocent victims were Amy Ayers, aged 13, Amy's friend Sarah Harbison, aged 15, Sarah's sister Jennifer Harbison, aged 17, and Jennifer's friend Eliza, also aged 17. They met their demise at a yogurt store named I Can't Believe It's Yogurt. These teenagers shared an unbreakable bond and a deep love for all living things. In most cases, we expect that the evidence at the crime scene will catch the criminals, right? But in this case, the evidence leads to dead ends. It's incredibly frustrating. Let me share with you the mysterious case of the 1991 Austin yogurt shop murders. You won't believe the terrible circumstances of this story. Join me for a ride through strange and mysterious here at Odd Mysteries Stories. Amy Ayers, the youngest of the victims, was born in January 1978 and raised in the ranching culture of Texas. With a deep love for animals and the outdoors, she excelled in horse shows. From a young age, Amy mastered skills like cutting horses. Her natural affinity for animals made her a true horse whisperer. Amy's passions continued into her teenage years. When not at the horse barn, she also trained dogs. She certainly connected with animals effortlessly and supported her brother at his cowboy competitions. She was active in yearbook meetings at school and served as vice president of Lanier High School's Junior Future Farmers of America program. Amy dreamed of owning horses and becoming a veterinarian, but tragedy cut short her aspirations in late 1991. Sarah Harbison, the next youngest victim, was 15 years old. Born on October 28, 1976, she was raised by her stepfather Frank and her birth mother Barbara Harbison. Sarah moved to Austin, Texas with her family in 1979. Sarah loved outdoor activities just like her best friend, Amy. She had a real knack for sports, especially basketball. Sarah was a whirlwind of activity, never slowing down for a moment. In addition to playing basketball, she joined the cheerleading squad, cheering right after her games and supporting the boys' teams. In high school, she added volleyball to her list of achievements, excelling on the freshman squad. Despite her busy schedule, Sarah's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Harbison, encouraged her to pursue her passions and strive for greatness. Sarah didn't stop at sports. She joined other school organizations like the Lanier Future Farmers of America and even became a representative on the student council. But her absolute favorite was showing sheep at local county fairs, a passion she shared with her older sister. The bond between Jennifer, Sarah, and their mother Barbara was unbreakable. In 1980, Barbara married Frank, bringing even more happiness and support to their close-knit family. Jennifer, born May 9, 1974, was 2.5 years older than Sarah. Tragically, Jennifer was another victim of the yogurt shop mystery. Jennifer, like her younger sister, received encouragement from her family to pursue her interests. Despite her small stature, she was quick, clever, confident, and athletic. She balanced social activities with sports and leadership roles in the Future Farmers of America program. Starting with T-ball, she later became a track and field star in high school. Jennifer aimed for a future in barrel racing. Jennifer and Sarah shared a strong bond, described by their mother as unique, faithful, and remarkably mature for their age. Jennifer's maturity convinced her mother to allow her to work part-time late-night shifts at the I Can't Believe It's Yogurt shop to save up for a navy blue Chevy S10 truck her birth father was arranging for her to purchase. Tragically, this innocent plan took a dark turn after only a few months on the job. Can you imagine just how Jennifer and Sarah's relationship influenced their decisions and what led to the tragic events that unfolded at the yogurt shop? Eliza Thomas was born on May 16, 1974, in Travis County, Texas. Eliza's parents divorced when she was young, but she maintained a close relationship with her birth mother, Maria, and grew up alongside her younger sister. Eliza's passion for beauty products fueled her dream of becoming a model someday. Alongside her interest in makeup, she enjoyed collecting miniature knickknacks, especially cat figurines. Like her friends Jennifer, Sarah, and Amy, she was also involved in the Future Farmers of America program and had a love for animals. Eliza used her involvement in these activities to support her modeling aspirations, selling the pigs she raised at county competitions to finance her first modeling portfolio. Her job on the night shift at the local yogurt shop was another step toward her dreams. Sadly, her life was cut short, along with the lives of the three other girls from Austin, Texas, in December 1991. Before the murders, at around 4:30 p.m. on Friday, December 6th, Barbara Harbison gets home from work and finds her daughter, Sarah, on the couch, snacking. Sarah tells her mom she'd like to go to the mall with her friend Amy Ayers that night and asks if Amy can stay over. Barbara agrees and mentions it's best to have Jennifer bring Sarah and Amy to the mall near her work. That way, Jennifer can also bring the girls back home. Just after 5 p.m., Jennifer drives to the Austin shopping complex to begin her shift at the yogurt shop. This marks the last time Barbara sees her daughters. Jennifer drops them off at the mall and heads to work, sharing her shift with her coworker Eliza Thomas. What happens next sets the stage for a tragic turn of events. For Jennifer, Elijah, Sarah, and Amy, everything seemed normal at the yogurt shop inside the Austin shopping mall complex. For the next 4 hours or so, the night shift continued as usual. Around 10 p.m., customers inside the store observed all four girls appearing happy and going about their tasks as usual. However, tragically, this would be the last confirmed sighting of the girls alive. As the night wore on, around 11 p.m., something unimaginable happened. The four friends were suddenly entrapped inside the yogurt shop by multiple assailants. What the attackers did to those girls was horrible. They were forced into a back room, instructed to disrobe, and at least one of them was sexually assaulted. Then the killers executed each of them with 22 caliber shots to the head. This all happened in a cold and heartless manner. After committing the heinous crimes of rape and murder, the assailants stacked the bodies of Elijah, Jennifer, and Sarah in the shop storeroom. Amy was found in a separate part of the store with 2 gunshots to her head. The details of this brutal attack get much worse. They then doused the crime scene with papers from the store and lighter fluid, setting it ablaze before disappearing into the darkness. Around 11:47 p.m., Austin police officer Troy Gay was on patrol in the North Austin area when he spotted the fire at the yogurt shop. Without hesitation, he called it into his dispatcher, prompting fire trucks to rush to the scene. Just after midnight on Saturday, December 7th, firefighters arrive and control the fire. They soon make the horrifying discovery of the girls' bodies. Eliza and Sarah are found with their wrists tied, while Jennifer's hands are positioned behind her back unbound. The yogurt shop's manager, Reese Price, testified about how she learned of the killings. She was in tears as she described being on vacation before getting a call from Austin police and returning to the store to try to help identify the bodies at the crime scene. When investigators arrive at the scene, they find the bodies of Eliza, Jennifer, Sarah, and Amy, all naked and severely burned. Each victim suffered a tragic fate inside the yogurt shop. Sarah, Jennifer, and Eliza were all shot in the head. Sarah endured even more horror with her hands bound behind her using a pair of panties, and she was also gagged and sexually assaulted. Jennifer wasn't bound like Sarah, but her hands were still behind her back, indicating a struggle. Eliza, too, had her hands tied behind her back and was gagged, suggesting a similar ordeal. All three girls were then subjected to brutal gunshots to the back of their heads, then set ablaze with an accelerant, leaving them charred and lifeless. In a cruel twist, Amy's body was discovered separately. Although she wasn't charred like the others, she suffered severe burns covering a quarter to a third of her body. Strangely, she had a cloth resembling a sock wrapped around her neck. Despite being shot like the others, one bullet miraculously missed her brain, but another caused extensive damage, leaving her with devastating injuries. It is not known why Amy was found in a separate part of the store. What could have led to such a horrific scene? And why were the victims subjected to such brutality? During the investigation, it was determined that both a .22 revolver and a .380 semi-automatic pistol were believed to have been used in the killings, according to the Austin American-Statesman. All the girls are presumed to have passed away before the fire engulfed the store. Law enforcement revealed some chilling details. Reports confirmed that multiple individuals were involved in the robbery, rape, turned homicide. Additionally, there were no signs of forced entry into the store, indicating that the perpetrators may have been familiar with the premises. Furthermore, the items used to tie up the four girls were all found inside the store, suggesting that the assailants had access to them on site. Who could be behind this heinous crime? On Tuesday, December 10th, the entire city of Austin, Texas, mourned the loss of the four young lives. Parents, friends, and community members came together to pay their respects at a funeral attended by over 1,500 citizens, reflecting the profound impact of the tragedy on the community. Two days later, on Thursday, December 12th, State District Judge John Wisser took measures to safeguard the integrity of the investigation. He ordered the autopsy reports to be sealed, ensuring the confidentiality of the evidence and protecting the ongoing inquiry from outside interference. On December 14, 1991, Maurice Pierce was picked up at North Cross Mall carrying a .22 caliber pistol and 16 bullets tucked into his jeans. At the time he was taken in and questioned by Detective Hector Polanco, Pierce said in a written statement that the .22 he was carrying at the North Cross Mall was the same gun which had been used by his friend Forrest Wellborn to commit the yogurt shop murders. Wellborn was questioned and denied any involvement, but did say that he and Pierce, along with two others named Robert Springsteen and Michael Scott, had gone to San Antonio several days later in a stolen Pathfinder. As a result, both Springsteen and Scott were also questioned, but there is a problem concerning this one detective. It is safe to say that Detective Hector Polanco had a reputation for coercing information out of suspects. It was Detective Polanco's interview with Pierce that put the boys on the suspect list to begin with. According to the defense attorney of suspect Springsteen, Polanco most likely also conducted Springsteen's initial interview. During the subsequent trial, Detective Polanco testified that he has never coerced information from a suspect, yet he was recorded as saying, quote, "though I've been accused of it," unquote. Therefore, Pierce's confession may well call into question the validity of any information obtained through Detective Polanco regarding the involvement of Pierce Springsteen and the others in the yogurt shop crime. Despite previous setbacks, there was a breakthrough in the case in September 1999. Police bring in Michael Scott, a suspected accomplice of Maurice Pierce, for questioning multiple times between September 9th and the 14th. After more than 20 hours of interrogation, Scott confesses to his involvement in the murders. On September 15th, Austin police travel to Charleston, West Virginia, where they interview Springsteen, another alleged cohort, under intense questioning for 5 hours. Springsteen admits to raping Amy Ayers and participating in the killing. Then, on October 5, 1999, Austin Judge Mike Lynch signed arrest warrants for Scott Springsteen, Maurice Pierce, and Forrest Wellborn, marking a significant step forward in the investigation and bringing hope for justice to the victims and their families. On October 6th, all four suspects were formally arrested for capital murder. As the investigation progressed on December 1st of the same year, the police collected blood and DNA samples from the four suspects for analysis against the crime scene evidence. Just over a week later, on December 9th, a judge decides that Pierce and Wellborn, despite being teenagers aged 15 and 16 at the time of the crime, would be tried as adults. This added complexity to the legal proceeding. In mid-December, things intensified when Springsteen was indicted by a grand jury on December 14th, followed by Scott and Pierce on December 28th. District Attorney Ronnie Earl announced plans to seek the death penalty for Springsteen and Scott, underscoring the seriousness of the charges. However, the legal journey took an unexpected turn on June 30th, 2000, when a judge dismissed the capital murder charge against Forrest Wellborn. This was after a second grand jury failed to indict him. Despite this setback, prosecutors pressed forward with their case against Robert Springsteen, which went to trial in April 2001. The trial concluded with a pivotal verdict in June, as the jury found Springsteen guilty of murder. He was subsequently sentenced to death, marking a somber end to his legal proceedings. Over a year later, the legal saga concluded with Michael Scott's trial in September 2002. He is found guilty of murder on September 22nd and is sentenced to life in prison just 2 days later, bringing some closure to the tragic case of the yogurt shop murders. In January 2003, District Attorney Ronnie Earl made a surprising move. He requested the dismissal of charges against Maurice Pierce, stating there wasn't sufficient evidence to convict him at that time. Pierce had spent over 3 years in prison while awaiting trial. How did this decision affect the investigation? Fast forward to May 30th, 2006, when the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals overturned Robert Springsteen's conviction. They argued that the written confession of Michael Scott, used as evidence against Springsteen, was improperly obtained. Another detective was captured on security footage holding a gun to Scott's head during the multi-day interrogation that led to his confession, at which time he had also named the other men, as reported by Texas Monthly. On June 6, 2007, the courts made a shocking decision to overturn Michael Scott's conviction, echoing what happened to Robert Springsteen's case earlier. Then, in the spring of 2008, prosecutors dropped another bombshell. They announced a breakthrough in DNA technology that uncovered new evidence. Previously undetected DNA from an unknown male was found on a vaginal swab taken from Amy Ayer's body. This DNA profile didn't match any of the 4 original suspects. What implications does this discovery have for the investigation? June 2009 rolls around and suddenly there's a major development. The mysterious DNA found on Amy Ayer's body pops up again, but this time on one of the Harbison sisters. It's an incredible twist in the case. The problem is that this DNA doesn't match any of the over 100 suspects the police have looked into over the last 17 years. And get this, it doesn't match any of the people who've been around the crime scene since 1991. So, whose DNA could it be? Authorities turn to a public DNA database used for population studies. And guess what? They get a hit. A match to the DNA found on the 4 girls. But it's just the beginning. What secrets could this DNA hold? And could it finally crack the case open wide? Later that month, on June 24, 2009, the district attorney's office informed a Travis County judge that they couldn't proceed with a retrial for Michael Scott or Robert Springsteen without identifying the owner of the new DNA. Consequently, both men were released from custody at 2:50 p.m., walking out of the courthouse as free men. By October 2009, all charges against Scott and Springsteen were dropped because no DNA samples from the yogurt shop crime scene were matched to them. With no known active leads, what possibly lies ahead in the pursuit of justice for Amy Ayers, Sarah Harbison, Jennifer Harbison, and Eliza Thomas. It turns out that back when the yogurt shop murders happened, a guy named Kenneth McDuff was known in Texas for doing some really bad stuff, especially to teenage girls. Fast forward to the trial of Robert Springsteen, who was accused of Amy Ayer's murder. His defense lawyer had been pointing directly to this lurking predator, McDuff, who'd been terrorizing Austin residents back in 1991. But no one thoroughly investigated McDuff. Can you imagine the tension in that courtroom during Springsteen's trial back in 1999? Imagine you're on the jury. How would you decide Springsteen's fate without DNA that tied him to the scene? And knowing there's this dangerous guy named McDuff on the prowl during that same time. In fact, on December 29, 1991, just 23 days after the four girls were tragically killed at the yogurt shop, McDuff abducted Colleen Reed from a car wash downtown. Years later, some folks who didn't want to reveal their identities told Austin's local TV station something they overheard. They said that on November 17, 1998, the exact day McDuff was executed for his crime, he finally admitted to being involved in the yogurt shop murders. Can you believe this? Officials had earlier speculated that McDuff, paroled when the girls were murdered, may have been involved, but the law officers had said that McDuff was executed before they could tie him to the yogurt shop case. So even though McDuff was heard confessing to the yogurt shop murders, investigators didn't take it seriously. Why? Well, it turns out McDuff got plenty of the important details wrong. It's like he tried hard to make up things connected to the case and claimed he'd forgotten others. After McDuff was executed, a guy named Glenn Castleberry talked to reporters. Castleberry spoke for the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. He said that investigators grilled McDuff for hours, but didn't think he knew anything more about the crimes. They squeezed him for information, but it seemed like he didn't have much to offer besides what was already known publicly. Then, Castleberry claimed that he'd never heard anything about McDuff confessing to the yogurt shop killings. So let's think about this. Why do you think McDuff messed up the details in his supposed confession? And how do you think investigators felt when they realized McDuff might not have been telling the whole truth? And why were they interested in McDuff in the first place if they said years later that they didn't know he'd confess? It's like trying to untangle a big mess of lies to find out what really happened to those poor young girls. Another detective from the Austin Police Department, named John Jones, played a major role in investigating the yogurt shop murders. For almost 3 years, Jones was like a bloodhound sniffing out clues and chasing leads to get to the bottom of what happened that night. Even after hanging up his detective badge and retiring, Jones didn't call it quits. Instead, he sat down with journalist Erin Moriarty to spill the beans on what he knew. Jones said that he and his squad were all over the case from the beginning. They knew they had to talk to every single person who was seen near the yogurt shop when the crime may have happened. They were on a mission to gather every tiny detail that could help crack the case open. Much of the evidence had been destroyed in the fire and by the power of the fire hoses needed to contain it. So what clues do you think might have slipped through the cracks? Well, they did manage to uncover a partial DNA profile as revealed by John Jones in a TV show, 48 Hours Special. Here's where it gets complicated. This DNA profile only contained 16 markers, which meant it could match thousands of men. While it could rule out some potential suspects, it wasn't enough to pinpoint a single individual. Another interesting clue was that during the investigation, many customers recalled seeing two suspicious individuals just before the shop closed. What's odd is that these guys didn't buy any frozen yogurt. They only ordered drinks. This raised eyebrows among investigators. They interviewed 52 people who were present at the yogurt shop on the night of the crime. Customers noticed the two mysterious guys at the yogurt shop right before the crime took place. Witnesses said these guys were acting secretive, huddled together, and talking in hushed tone. One of the guys had short, light-colored hair, kind of like a dirty blonde, and was around 5 feet 6 inches tall. He looked like he was in his late 20s or early 30s. The other guy was a bit bigger. They both had on bulky coats. One was green, almost like army gear, and the other's coat was black, and witnesses said they were driving a green car that night, too. What were these guys whispering about? Who were these mysterious men, and could they have been involved in the crime? In 2017, following a ton of pressure from the public media and politicians, the FBI decided to team up with the Austin Police Department. Detectives took a crucial step forward in the yogurt shop murder case. They entered a DNA sample found at the crime scene into a database. Surprisingly, it matched an unidentified individual, as reported by CBS News. That's awesome, right? But here's the twist. The FBI provided the matching sample, yet the person's identity remained a mystery. Federal agents, citing privacy concerns, couldn't or wouldn't disclose who the person was. So why was the individual's identity kept confidential? And could it hold the key to solving the case? Taking things a layer deeper, we learn about a man named McCall. He used to be a bigwig in Texas law and worked as a federal prosecutor. In 2019, he shot off a letter to the FBI asking them to hand over some DNA samples from the yogurt shop case. McCall wanted to do a special test called YSTR matching. The FBI said, "Sorry, but that test would give us way too many matches. It'd be like finding a needle in a haystack." But what do you think? Would McCall's idea to use this special DNA test have solved the case? And here's yet another unbelievable plot twist. In 2020, they did some super fancy DNA testing, and the sample from the crime scene no longer matched the sample the FBI had in the public DNA database anymore. It's like the trail went cold just when they thought they were on to something. With DNA research zooming ahead like a bullet train, investigators are crossing their fingers for new breakthroughs in science that could give them and the families of the victimized girls some long-awaited answers. Now we jump to 2022. Lawmakers stepped up and passed a bill focused directly on this case. It's called the Homicide Victims Families Rights Act Bill. What does it do? Well, its goal is to make it faster and easier to solve cold cases. It's designed to push the system to keep giving these cases the attention they deserve. This bill really packs a punch. It requires federal law enforcement to roll up their sleeves and dive into case files using the latest technologies and top investigative standards. Back to the yogurt shop murders. Even after over 3 decades, investigators are still scratching their heads. They don't know who murdered the girls that fateful night. It's certainly a mystery that seems like it can't be solved. But with this new cold case bill in place, there's hope that justice may finally be served. Today, if you were to visit the location where the yogurt shop once stood, you wouldn't find it there anymore. Instead, you'd see a payday loan store in its place. It's quite a different scene from the bustling shop that once filled the space with laughter and chatter. But amidst the change, there's a small but poignant reminder of the tragic events that unfolded there. Just nearby, you'll find a plaque. It's a quiet tribute to the 4 young lives that were lost on that night on December 6, 1991. It's a sobering reminder of the impact of senseless violence and the importance of remembering those who are no longer with us. Eliza's mother once told a news outlet that she had decided to move away from Austin. Staying there hurt too much. She said that running into people who were constantly asking how the case was going was very hard on her, and especially on her daughter. Eliza's mother died in 2015, never knowing who was responsible for Eliza's murder. Then there is the Harbison family, who lost their only children, both daughters Jennifer and Sarah. As their mother Barbara said, quote, "My life was focused on them from here to eternity. Someone took eternity away from me. And Bob Ayers, who is the father of the youngest victim, Amy, he said, quote, I lost my daughter. I lost my daughter. I lost my first dance. I won't see her graduate. I won't see her become a veterinarian. She was a daddy's girl. In 2023, just about 31 years later, Amy's brother and sister-in-law still celebrate her birthday, often making a cake at home or sharing a restaurant dessert in her honor. Amy's brother said, quote, we remember her every day. It's 31 years of trying and not giving up. If it takes 31 more years, then so be it. There will be a resolution to this. We won't give up. So, that's the heartbreaking story of the yogurt shop murders. I can only hope that one day soon, the families of these amazing young ladies receive the justice they so deserve. I hope you enjoyed this video and are enjoying the videos on my channel. My name is Vince, and if possible, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. I'll be posting new videos at least once a week. Clicking the little bell will send you a notification when a new video is posted. In the meantime, I invite you to watch one of my other two videos on your screen. Thank you.